Hey, welcome to the Collector's Desk. My name is Brendan Allen, senior editor at ComicCon.com. Up in the right-hand corner there, we got Mr. Brett Lawson, student of the game, and something else. I don't remember. He does sports stuff. Down there in the lower left, we got Mr. Paul Vato. He is a man of many trades, most notably comedian, I guess, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that on the show yet. Bottom right-hand corner is our editor-in-chief from Comic-Con. That is Mr. Erik Amaya, also executive producer of this show. Good morning, gentlemen. Let's start with Brett. Brett, how you doing there, sir?
Well, it's just good to know after working with you, whether it be an in-person capacity or in a capacity like this, that you're so, in tune with our individual career profiles at this point, Brendan. So thank you. But at this point now, like if you come back like in a week or so, whatever, Steve's gone again. So yeah, a week or so. And when you come back and you do the intros again, if you were to come and like nail it as if like you're listing off bullet points from the resume, then I'd be taken aback and then I'd feel it's weird and it'd be unsettling. So at this point,
that'll probably never happen.
Right. You just gotta roll with it. But no, man, all things are well. As you said, I talk about sports. We're actually going to kind of deviate into some sports today, which is going to be a lot of fun. But on the sports front, we have so much going on, directly in the media world and really just in the ancillary. And even if you're just a casual fan, there's so much going on that front. So fun stuff, fun to be with you guys. And of course, it's a convention week as well. So I'll be seeing you in person this weekend, Brendan. So exciting times.
Yes, sir. Las Vegas this weekend. We got PokeCon coming up. And I don't know that I appreciate the marketing that's come out of PokeCon because I can't tell sometimes if they're taking the piss because for both of our profiles, when they said, special guest, whatever, because we're both stage hosts, it says, see him, meet him, be inspired. And I was like, dude, that is a big order, man. I don't know if I'm going to inspire anybody. I will definitely be there. And I will host.
Find you quite inspiring.
Well, thank you. That's a good start.
I'm glad that I inspire one person in the world. Paul Vato, how do I inspire you?
Man, I'll have to get back to you on that because that's going to be a tough one. But first of all, thank you so much for that amazing introduction, stand-up comedian, I guess. But it means a lot coming from the host extraordinaire. I guess that's what you do. And somehow I'd love to be there with you guys this weekend, but I still have not received my invitation. So
you know what? It was conditional on my taco order from 2 conventions ago that never showed up. So had those tacos shown up, then the invitation would have been auto-released to you. But since the tacos never came, neither did the invitation.
I believe the tacos did come, albeit maybe a little late. And that's how I discovered that Brendan walks around with hot sauce in his pocket. And that's not a euphemism or anything like that. He literally walks around with a bottle of Cholula or Tabasco or
not Cholula, not Tabasco, none of that weak sauce. No.
Some Mexican shit. And I don't.
Wait, hang on. So like the most generic Cholula and Tabasco are the weakest sauces. Frank's is a good flavor, but it's not spicy at all. And the thing is, when you go to any restaurant, they will have a combination of Cholula, Tabasco, and Frank's. And I have a very, very, very spicy palate that I enjoy with my food. And so I have to bring, if I want ghost peppers or habaneros or anything that's higher on the Schofield, what's it called? The
scale? The Schofield
the Schofield scale. I have to bring it. And I've accepted that and I've learned it. The only places I can get really, really good hot sauce is like at a taco truck at 2 a.m. And I'm like, give me the hottest sauce you got. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. And then they give it to me and I'm like, that's the stuff, but I never find it in an actual restaurant. So I do bring around little bottles of hot sauce because I appreciate hotter spice palette than anything that they'll offer at most restaurants.
Sure. So, is that just for tacos though? Is that for anything? Like, are you basically just trying to make all dishes as spicy as you can, or you just want your tacos as spicy as you can?
So I have a bottle of the last dab from that show Hot Ones. And that goes on every meal of the day when I'm here at home.
Really?
That goes on my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner. Yeah.
And Brett, I don't appreciate you lumping us all in to you guys because I could be wrong, but I don't see Erik and myself in the same league over here as Mr. Hot Spicy Mexican. Brendan, so don't lump us all in.
At the Ahern, when I brought out my hot sauce, he goes, "Oh, let me try some of that." I was like, "Cool, have some." And he saw me like dump it on, so he went and dumped it on, and he was not okay. It was, I thought he was gonna die.
I also like the way Brendan's brain works, which is he remembers the word Schofield, Schofield, but
can't remember scale.
you can't remember scale. Incredible.
Yeah, you know what I'm wondering is, how did this start? Like, is it more so you just need heat, or is it that you just can't? If food now you're so used to it that food without it is bland. Like, did you start lower and gradually want to get spot? Because I know what you're talking about.
Are you talking to Eric?
No, I'm talking to Brendan.
What are you pointing at though? That's your orientation on the screen is weird.
You should see me when I'm hosting my show solo wise. My arms are going all over the place as if I'm talking to like.
But you're pointing at our chat, and the people that are watching cannot see that. So
I'm not pointing at the chat at all. I don't even have the chat up. I'm just pointing in general.
I just thought it was funny that he would absolutely not be talking to Eric on the topic of hot sauce. So yeah, it's you, Brendan.
I can't even taste it anymore.
Now I'm pointing directly to Brendan, and I'm saying, how did this start? Because is it something? Because I know the sauce you're talking about, so I get the significance and how like drastic it is. But why? Like, is it because now food is bland without it, or do you just need to feel spice on your tongue to enjoy a meal?
I like
Brendan.
I like feeling it, but at the same time, I can't feel it. It doesn't. I like the flavor of sauces, and I like it when it's really spicy. But I also can't taste how spicy it is because we were just at the Unrivaled, right? And we went out to sushi with a bunch of the talent. And across from me was Stephen Costatino, who is the Gamorrean guard, and a couple of feet down was Susanna Malik, who is one of the she's one of the costume characters. So she did Gas Mask, and she did is it Ewoks? She might have been not an Ewok. What's the other one? The ones with the robes that steal shit. Jawas. She's a Jawa. Anyway, yeah. So I'm sitting there, and when you order food, I was expecting like a little roll. They brought full rolls, so I got this. I'm like, hey, make it as spicy as you can, like the spiciest stuff you got. And they brought it out, and I was like, this is all right. But I wasn't going to eat 2 full servings of this sushi. So when they started taking away Steven's plates, because Steven ordered everything, and then he ate it. But they took away Steven's plate, so I put it in the center because it's kind of like family style, whatever, at this all-you-can-eat sushi place. Steven goes, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's sushi, right? But it's got a slice of jalapeno on top, and then it's got this red thick sauce on it, right?" And he throws it in his mouth like it's nothing. He starts chewing, and I thought he was going to die because he started sweating. He was screaming at me. He was yelling at me because apparently it was very, very spicy, but I didn't know that. And then Susanna had tried it. And so I almost killed 2 of the costume characters from the Star Wars franchise because my sushi was too hot for them to handle.
So, Eric, does this do we chalk this up to like a lower third for name drops or for flexes for Brendan? Because it definitely
I don't know. That's why I chose OTNE.
Right? Because
what's OTNE mean?
So
that's an exclamation that the Jawas made.
It's what the Jawas say. Yeah. So basically, I'm torn. Like, is it more because we get the name drops we get? That's fine. But he used it as a way to say, yeah, my tongue, my palate is tougher than yours.
No, I'm just saying that's the most recent example of somebody trying something that I ate and then like telling me that it's way outside the boundaries.
Well, before we move on, you have to at least answer this part of the question. When did it actually start? Like I'm not talking like hot sauce because I've always liked hot sauce on my food. I'm talking like extreme heat.
So my biological father was an asshole. And so Jelly Bellies are local to where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And we used to get these amazing watermelon Jelly Bellies, right? And the thing that's unique about Jelly Bellies is the centers are flavored and the shell is flavored. Yeah. Whereas most jelly beans is just the shell, and then you get to the center, it's just that sweet whatever. So I loved these watermelons. I eat them by the handful, right?
And the watermelons are cool because of the 2 different colors, the red and the green.
He figures out that I'm the one eating his Jelly Bellies, and he goes out and gets the jalapeno Jelly Bellies. Oh. And he puts them in the jar. And I threw them in my mouth. I'm chew. And I was like, oh, those are different. Right. And then I sat there and I just buy the handful of these jalapeno ones. And he's like, what is going on? Did I get the wrong one? So he grabs a few and throws them in his mouth. And he starts like puking and gagging and spitting all over the place. So I guess it goes back a while because I was probably, I don't know, 7 at that time. I don't know.
No, yeah. I love it. It's rooted in trauma to a degree. Go ahead.
I have a slight follow-up. Have you experienced a vindaloo?
What's a vindaloo?
Okay,
chicken vindaloo?
It is the highest spice level in Indian restaurants.
Vindaloo.
I've heard of it, but I've never experienced it.
I made the mistake of doing it when I was living in the UK. And after what happened, and we left the restaurant, I had to look at everybody that I was with and say, okay, you need to understand, in the US, spicy's a cute term. It means flavor.
Yeah.
Not what the hell this was.
Not brutality.
Not brutality. Not folding space. Not becoming the Kwisatz Haderach.
What's tough? Yeah. What's tough for me is that when I'm out with a group of people, there's a misconception because if you show it in your face that like you're like overheating and compared to how your actual tongue is, there's a big difference between like how you're handling the flavor and how your body's actually handling the heat. So like I'll sweat when I'm eating something really spicy. That's not even that spicy that I'm enjoying, but like naturally my forehead will just start breaking out in droplets and people will think I can't handle it. But like if I can't handle it, I'd stop putting the food into my mouth every second. So I want to keep eating more, even if my head's reacting. Like even like on Buffalo Wild Wings at sauces that aren't even that high on the level, like the Asian zing will get me going, and I'll down the whole thing in like no time. And everyone's like Brett Lawson or whatever, like whoever I'm with. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, why? And they'll show me my face, and it looks like I'm just walking out of a sauna. So like there's a misconception that sometimes if you're sweating that you don't like it. It's like, no, I love it. My tongue is going to tell me if I don't want it anymore.
Sometimes I can tell how spicy it is the next day. But in the moment, I can't.
Well said.
Yeah. What else happened? Oh, you guys. So the fan home build that I was doing for Star Wars for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's a 1-to-2 scale, right? So it's a massive thing. But I've been waiting. They've been having some holdups. They had to change warehouses, and they had some stuff going on with the tariffs and stuff. So a palm piece was waiting. I have 30 build stages to do now, but I finished this Darth Vader 1-to-2 scale arm. And it's ridiculously articulated. So these condyloid joints that you have at your wrist that go all different ways, it's ridiculous how your wrist joint works and how your shoulder joint works. Like in the human body, there's only like 3 joints that are like this, that are like compound joints that move different directions and stuff. And they really did an excellent job. When the glove is on this thing, you can pose it in almost any position that you can do a human hand. And I'm really, really impressed with it. And I've been making rude gestures with it because I'm 12. But it's really cool.
One should.
You can flip people off with it. And you can do the European like 2-finger salute, and you can do the little thing with the punchy, like you looked at my ring, right? So that's what I've been doing for the last week, is just playing with this, because my part finally came in, and now I have 30 build stages to do. I'm almost halfway done with Darth Vader by the time I finish all these parts that were held up by whatever warehouse issues and stuff they were having. So I'm really stoked about that.
Here's a good question that could kind of take us to break. What is the best Star Wars model of any type that you've built? It could be some type of like, actual model set. It could be a Lego set. It could be something like related to what Brennan just broke down. Yeah, right.
This arm. This is the best thing that I have ever made.
The Vader arm. Because that's part of the fun in Star Wars, right? That kind of is a constant with generations, right? Certain aspects, the action figures now aren't as big as they once were, because those type of toys aren't as big for kids in terms of actual like play with. Video games are kind of going to be a constant. And, things you could build are going to be a constant. And Lego Star Wars, in between what they've been able to cross over into with the video games and everything in between, and just the classic sets that they've had, going back decades. What's like your favorite model, Erik, Star Wars related, if you have one?
Wow. I mean, the issue for me is that I've never known a life without Star Wars action figures or vehicles. Right. So I'm going to go with Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One.
Okay.
When did you do that? Is that recent? Is that 10 years ago, 30 years ago?
That's just something I've had for ages.
Well, that works, and that works too. It doesn't even have. Honestly, I know I kind of use the concept of a build to tee up the question, but it could be any collectible, because that's the focus of the podcast anyway. But to me, it's great because Paul's giving us a taste of our own medicine. I love it. But
no, he just didn't want us to see that his mom's like live-in aide was serving him lunch right there, because we give him a hard time about that every time, that like he's there mooching off of mom and taking advantage of the services.
Hey, at this point, mom's got to be one of the stars of the show. Anytime we can get a guest appearance, it's always a big deal. But no, Erik, for me, it's the Republican gunship. I had models that were probably cooler actual ships from the canon itself, like that stand out more in terms of if you're a fan. But in terms of the playability, I guess you could say, in terms of what you could do with it, how many action figures you could put into it. Plus, I was a kid growing up at the time of the prequels, so I kind of had to retroactively get all of the original trilogy collectibles, which I did in full force. But I could get the prequel collectibles as they were being marketed for each movie coming out in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it was kind of more of a real time.
How old were you in the 90s, Brett?
Well, when the Phantom Menace came out, I was about 6 or 7, depending on when in the 6, 7, depending on when in the year. See, I'm not old enough
So
to not
to
get that reference.
This actually does lead to an important question.
Yeah.
Brett, how do you pronounce the term, the number or the letter designation of an Imperial Walker?
Okay, so I've always said AT-AT because
Nah.
I thought that was right, and then apparently there's a whole at contingent.
Of course.
It's not a contingent. It's what it is. Listen, how many of us have been in the military?
Well, just instead of asking, just go ahead and say it. You know the answer.
So no,
Eric. There's another one for the flex.
So
there's another one for the flex.
So
lower third.
HMMWV, high mobility multi-use wheeled vehicle, is Humvee, right?
Yeah.
Jeep, general purpose, GP is Jeep, Jeep, right? So anytime you can take an anagram, and there's one for everything. They have a designation for every single thing where it's this abbreviated initial thing. You're going to say it. So it is a military unit. It's AT-AT. They're not going to say AT-AT. They're going to say AT-AT.
Yeah.
And when it's AT-ST, they're going to come up with something else, but it's not going to be something. They're going to come up with some, but it's never going to be AT-AT. Never, ever is it going to be that.
Like
they're just going to say AT-AT.
The choppers in Nam, even Hueys, like it goes on and on, right? Like so it makes, once I started getting into like Vietnam movies, World War II movies, makes total sense. But in the context and the lens of Eric's question, I think he was asking at its core. So 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old Brett does not know any of that logic, and therefore it's and I always thought it was Tantive 4 instead of Tantivi. That's more of a grammatical type thing. But
So you knew Roman numerals before you knew AT-AT?
100%. No, that's so funny you say that. 100%. And I think Star Wars, no lie, Brendan, is how I first got the concept of Roman numerals, at least as it pertains to 1 through 6. I really do. I think that was the root of it all.
Faces have been around for how many thousands of years, and they still get it wrong.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we're heading into the break. When we get back, it's going to be a Paul-led segment for the very first time. He shot me over these ideas. I pulled together some images, but Paul is going to lead it, and it's going to be Mr. Eric and Mr. Steve. No, Steve's not here. Mr. Eric and Mr. Brett. And I'm going to go take a break because I can't get names straight or anything. So we'll see you after the break.
I'm Steve.
I'm Paul.
We're all Steve today. We'll see you after the break.
Steve.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
And we're back. Oh, am I supposed to take the lead on this as well? Oh my goodness. Wow, I'm just not used to it. Well, welcome back to the Collector's Desk. I am your main host for this segment, and I'm so excited to be here along with Brett Lawson. And do I just go with Eric, or do I give your whole name? Eric, the producer. I don't know how much information you want out there.
Eric is fine. Yeah.
Just Eric. Eric is fine. And in this segment, we're going to explore the collaboration between AP Watches and Swatch, but also it's kind of a crossover episode because we're exploring the luxury hype culture and, I don't know, nostalgia capitalism, if you will. You know, one's a plastic toy watch with a luxury logo, which is causing chaos. The other one is a toy line from the 80s becoming a giant Hollywood reboot. And of course, I'm talking about the upcoming release of Masters of the Universe. You know, they're both powered by the same thing, which is, I think, collectors convincing themselves that, I don't know, that they're buying history. I don't know how much you guys know about, well, you probably know a lot about the Masters of the Universe upcoming release, but did you guys hear about the AP Swatch collab and the chaos it caused throughout the world, except, of course, Japan, because these people are not animals. They're civilized and do not act like the rest of the world. So what do you guys know about this AP Swatch collab?
So I started seeing some videos of people breaking into malls and and sort of these crazy lines. I saw one video where a dude's being interviewed about being in the line. He's like, "Hey, I've already got my AP. I'm just here to sell my seat. Like, someone's going to want this at some point. I don't even really want the watch." So it feels like it's almost grifter culture has taken over this thing because everyone's just looking to get their hands on a $400 watch, turn around and sell it for $2,000.
Yes, and people,
Yeah.
but people were lining up 6 days in advance because it dropped first, I believe maybe on Instagram or at least on the website with just very, very secretive campaign like clack, 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 which is the sound that the Swatch makes when you clack it or clip it into the pendant. And there's not even a wrist strap for it. It's really either more like a pocket watch with the dial at the 12 o'clock or like a wristwatch with the crown on the 3 o'clock. But for now, you can hang it on luggage. You can wear it around your neck. But there's no strap, so I know people are hurrying up to do that. But yes, a lot of people were just, I'll sell it. But then when they found out that there was no strap, and people were a little upset. But it's like a $400 toy for some people. Others are like, hey, it's a great way to get into AP, which most people don't can't afford or don't want to afford. A 30,000 entry into the luxury watch market with an AP, the Royal Oak. So the Royal Pop is like, hey, it's only $400, but also it's not a watch that it can work on. But it should last 20 some years anyways. The movement, it's an enclosed movement, so you can't open it to work on it, but people aren't planning on doing that. Brett, what was your take? Did this cross your feed at all, or what were you thinking about it?
Well, I think you kind of put it best earlier. When Japan is losing their ever loving minds, it's bad, right?
But they weren't. No, Japan was very.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So like, if Japan is losing their minds, that's kind of like the litmus test where society's collapsing. So if you're looking at Japan, you can't always necessarily say, okay, this is a real thing or not. Because we were talking about Star Wars just like momentarily, like briefly. And when that movie came out, they didn't even stand up and cheer and applaud it like everyone else around the world did. Because in Japan, when a movie's great, you don't do that. In professional wrestling, when a match is an absolute barn burner, 5-star type of match, they will applaud it and kind of like nod their head in respect and admiration, but they won't mark out and go crazy and get very hyper verbal, emotional like American fans and other fans around the world will. So it's kind of hard to base something off of how Japan handles it because they're always kind of going to be handled with the utmost class and respect. You look at it domestically, on the other hand, that is what crossed my feed. And initially, I didn't think much about it because I'm kind of hardened and desensitized by that at this point because of what Erik said. It's a grifter type of thing. And I guess maybe it's because I cover sports and it gets so toxic and volatile there. I kind of not only embrace it or not accept it, but embrace it and kind of take it in stride in the process and realize that's a part of how the sausage is made. Not saying I'm defending it that it's right, but I guess when I initially see it, Paulie, I mean, to be honest with you, I think, well, how much time did that take? I could start setting bets over and under of how long it takes until pure chaos and calamity ensue. The problem with this, as opposed to sports, however, is that these are collectibles. This goes back to whether it be retail, supply and demand, the basic principles of all business. Sports is a business based off the basic principles of competition that's then, let's be real, monopolized and corrupted. So it's different in that approach. And I do think when I see something really sour and nasty happen in sports, I think, well, of course, it kind of is an atmosphere that sets that self up. When I see it in this, guys, it always kind of leaves me feeling not uncomfortable, but just a little bit, it's gross. It's gross when you see them reacting like that. And that's why when you see Japan, by contrast, not doing it, you think, well, then there you go. That's how they handle everything. And it's par for the course for them. For us, as Paul said, it's, disgusting.
Well, it was just, it's so interesting to see that dichotomy of, yeah, Japan's very interested in this watch. They went the day of, maybe got in line, said, hey, we have 2 people, may we come in? Yes, please come in.
Right.
Whereas Oak Brook Mall here outside of Chicago was madness. I mean, people were there at 7 a.m. when it opened for the mall walkers. It's an outdoor mall. It's a beautiful mall. And but then the cops showed up, and ruined everything. And rightly so. They had to put up a sign, the store is closed. I was going to go, well, I'll go around noon and see. But then they said, we're not selling it today. They have to escort the employees off the premises, and then even India, everywhere, all over the world, it was chaos and madness at the Swatch store. I mean, it was great marketing. I think he's got everyone interested. I think AP, I don't know if they're trying to take advantage of collectors, but it's a great way to go, hey, look, check this out. I've got an AP watch. I got into it. So I think it opens the luxury market to more people and let them know. I'm sure there's many more people know who Swatch is than AP.
I think that's a great point, especially in the fact that, it's not necessarily a revitalization or a renaissance, but watches seem to kind of be a thing that's in men's fashion. Certain guys, they call themselves connoisseurs of watches. I don't even know if that's actually really a thing. But if you're a watch guy, you're a watch guy, and you're going to collect them. And because of that, there's a little bit of a broader appeal as opposed to most things we talk about on this very show that either tap into a specific niche or just kind of, that's basically a representation of nerd culture at large, right? And this isn't. This taps into the very thing that feeds nerd culture and the collectibles and the hobby space that all of us have dabbled in at some point. But it's something that is a little bit more, it's a broader stroke. We'll say that.
And from what I understand, this wasn't a one-time drop, right? Like Swatch and AP are going to refresh their stock like when they can.
Oh,
so it's
yeah, no, it wasn't a limited edition at all, and they were forthright about that. Like, no, this is not a limited edition. It was kind of what they did with the Moon Swatch, which was the last collector watch that they dropped maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It's not limited by any means. So my thing was like, yeah, I kind of do want one. I think it's fun. I do have one luxury watch, and I appreciate the functionality, but also I'm not going to wait in line with these kids at 6 days early just to get this plastic piece. I'll pay $400 for it, but I'll wait till now, today. Maybe I'll go next time I'm by Oakbrook. I'll pop in and see if they have them, or is the hype dead? But fashion watches or luxury watches have probably taken a back seat because of the technology of smart watches.
Right.
Everyone's got an iWatch or a Fitbit or Garmin or so. But there's definitely a niche. One of the guys that I follow, his thing is, I buy luxury watches so you don't have to, because it's not an inexpensive hobby. It's or lifestyle. So there's some valuable timepieces.
And that's what's so funny, because I know a lot of people in sports media who they don't necessarily scoff at wearing a watch, but when they think, like, when they are approached about or like asked about it, they're all like, "Why do I need one? This is my watch." Or if I do have a watch, it's going to be more rooted in technology and smart technology, like Paul just brought you just said. Like, if I could have that function and I could have that additional aspect to something that's really just meant to tell me time, and now it's a full-blown smartphone on my wrist, basically. And if I don't want that, I'll just use my smartphone as it is, which has a clock right here. It's understandable why they fell out of fashion in terms of supply and demand. But again, like anything else, like these guys who say, I'm a cigar buff, but don't even know how to cut a cigar properly because it's become a kind of a thing. It's kind of a coded, cool thing these days, right? Kind of ties back into that. And in a way, watches have kind of circled back. And it sucks because there are a lot of guys who just like watches because they're fashionable. And let's be real, they look great if you get a good one. But the actual, like Paul said, like the true need and desire to get one isn't rooted in those type of watches. And it's not even that present to begin with in a watch at all. Even
also an
interesting smartwatch.
Also, an interesting point is, religion-wise, it's my understanding that Adventists, they don't wear jewelry. So you're not going to give even your wife an engagement ring, but you can give her a tool, which is a watch, and that could be a very luxurious watch. And hey, will you marry me? So, ladies, if you're looking for a husband, I do accept watches as a means of a proposal ring and a dowry. I'm also expecting a dowry. But before we run out of time, I hope that wasn't too quick, and I think we could talk about this for hours. But maybe should we discuss a little bit the upcoming Masters of the Universe release, which I saw and I got super excited about. It's coming out next week, I think, already in the beginning of June. And what do you guys know about it? Because I think you would know more about it. I know that is it kind of like these watches where they're using it to sell more toys, and it's this cyclical thing where the movie is made to sell toys and the toys are sold because of the movies, and one that helps the synergistic effect. helping one sell more of the other. And was Masters based on the toys, or were the toys after the movie? I remember there was some talk about that.
It is in fact based on toys. Masters was a pure launch with no IP behind it back in '82, I think. But at the same time, I think one of the issues of Masters of the Universe is that it's kind of hermetically sealed to that original group of fans. Like it's not like Ninja Turtles or Transformers, where it just constantly refreshes, and people are handing their toys off to their little brothers, and it's built a thing. And I think that is the perilous rope that this movie's walking on. Is
Always.
Are there enough people from that original group of fans that are going to want to go see this and don't find Jared Leto utterly reprehensible, so that even if he's been replaced with CGI and he's not using his own voice,
Right,
just his name being there is poison.
and isn't that the exact reason why Transformers and franchises of the like, right? I mean, like you said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the fact that they could constantly hit the reset button, the same way we talk about in the comic books world, Batman and Spider-Man can constantly hit the reset button. Artists and creators can go back to the drawing board with those characters, and it's always going to be fresh. You can kind of drop them in any era, any timeline. It's always going to work. These toys have the exact same type of function, where something like Master of the Universe, even if they have an appeal from a nostalgic standpoint, or like Eric said, a hand-me-down standpoint, there's kind of only been one version, and one version only up until now. And that version lives on through parody and pop culture and different, cartoons and different TV shows, and just the nerd zeitgeist as a whole, right? And of course with the memes, right, with Skeletor and stuff like that. I know it sounds funny. There you go. And people doing the voices, the collectible. Like, there's a great nostalgic appeal to them, where if you have an action figure, you have something that represents the brand, people immediately know and get the reference, and they think it's awesome. But at the same time, is the 8 or 9 year old in any random market in America, or anybody in the target demographic for that matter, that interested, Paul? That I don't know. We talked about this when we initially aired the trailer, or we played the trailer and kind of gave some commentary over it here on the podcast months back when it first dropped. And the sentiments that we're kind of expressing right now were the same back then too. And I'll see it, but I'm not going to go out to the theater to see it. I'll check it out, see what it's all about. But as of right now, my interest is, it's the same. My general interest is the same as it was when we first saw the trailer drop.
Well, I mean, my theory is that, millennials are now, they're old enough to bankroll their trauma. So now you've got the money. You can go see these. It's a major nostalgia reboot. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe my math is off, but aren't these millennials now have children the age that might appreciate this for the first time? Yeah. I mean, so
the issue, millennials don't care about Masters of the Universe. They care about Ben 10. That's the issue, is millennials are a little too young for Masters of the Universe, because again, their older brothers were not handing the He-Man toys off to them. There wasn't a cartoon. Well, there was a cartoon in the 90s. It's called The New Adventures of He-Man, and it sucks.
Yeah, it was awful.
It's that issue, is there isn't the continuity there. So the millennials who do actually want to go to the movies and see stuff, they want a Ben 10 movie. They want Fairly Odd Parents. They want anything that isn't Masters of the Universe. Like this is its biggest problem, is
the traction.
You don't have it. Did not care.
And that's a good point.
Because they didn't like the New Adventures of He-Man. They didn't like the early 2000s reboot that they did.
Right.
And they didn't like those Netflix shows that were out a couple years ago. Like,
and
it never extends.
It's one of those things too, because even if you were a millennial who was born in, let's say, like the early 80s, you may have been alive when it was on, but you couldn't really appreciate it. You had to be just a little bit older, more of like a Gen X type, even if you were a late Gen X type, or like someone who's like, I don't know the exact parameters. I think it's technically like 1981, but you have to be born like really early in the millennial, like era, I guess you could say, or like the cutoff, if you will, or close to the cutoff, to appreciate it. And even then you're going to be young, right? So as Eric said, there was no hand-me-down effect, or there was no repackaging or recalibration. There was just the hand-me-down effect of, if my brother and my older cousin or my older buddy or my friend's brother or something, friend's buddy or something of the nature like that,
I
liked it.
I should also be saying older sister because I just remembered that,
Right.
that before She-Ra, He-Man had a huge female audience.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
why they created She-Ra, is because their metrics showed them that little girls were also buying He-Man.
And my point ultimately is that it made me think of this, Eric, because, and you'll probably appreciate this, but Brendan in the chat, he brought up, yes, now I'm looking at the chat, he brought up Robot Chicken. And Robot Chicken is exactly what I was thinking of regarding pop culture parodies, spoofing He-Man. They did the exact same thing with Thundercats, and Thundercats is the exact same thing. Never properly repackaged for future generations, has a cult following, and if you're a younger brother or even a younger sister, like you just said, and you think that is cool, then you may adopt it. You may do some digging with the internet, find it, appreciate it, consume it, make it yours, but it's not going to be a natural built-in audience type of thing. You're going to have to rely on the old guard, if you will, to pass it down through a lineage, and a lot of people just don't do that.
Amazing. But I think, well, it just shows that everything is cyclical. It comes back. And you made me realize it might be the perfect poop storm, and the movie might just tank having the Leto connection.
Well, are you going to see it?
Know.
Are you going to see it, Paul? Do you want to see it?
I'll see it with you, cuddled up on your couch maybe, but
Okay,
I don't think I'm going to go to the movies.
It's a date. But I'm
see
with you. I'm with you.
I was talking to Eric.
Okay, never mind. Sorry. I should assume.
Because, I'm going to keep mispronouncing his name. Jared Leto is the monkey's paw. Like, he keeps making movies happen that I would be interested in, if not for the fact that you were in them.
He was in them. That's a great way to phrase it. Like, the projects are great, and then I realize he's involved with it. You're all like, well, now this project just makes me want to hate it. Yeah. No, that's well said. And there we go. Now we set a future date for the three of us. Brendan, maybe you're invited. That's up to Paul and Eric and their discretion. For me, I'm basing my logic as everybody but Steve. So with that,
I love it. Brett, you remind me a little, every time that you point, you remind me a little bit of, is it the EDM Viking? If you've seen that meme, the EDM dancer Viking, he's leading people down the street. Some guy's like kind of sexually harassing a girl. He stops them, he points and tells them like, get out. And somebody hands him water. He doesn't even look. He drinks the water. It's just an interesting meme.
Well,
Guess
there
have
you
a
go.
chance.
During the break, Paul, go ahead and pull that up. Maybe we could throw it up. And I'm rather animated today because I'm excited that we're going to be talking about sports for the first time ever here on the Collector's Desk, or really any version or edition of this podcast that we've had. I'm just going to go ahead and set up the tease now because I don't think Paul really taps much into what I'm talking about unless
I'm out. I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go take a nap.
There you go.
I'm going to take a nap while you guys talk sports or whatever.
We'll take it. We'll take it from here. Paul's going to nap. We're going to talk about sports, whatever. Don't go anywhere. The Collector's Desk continues on the other side.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Do you know my 10-year anniversary is coming up with the site, Eric?
Yeah, no, me too.
Every time I see that video package come up, it reminds me how long I've been doing this because I look wildly different than I did before. Brett, it's your segment, though. Why didn't you take that?
Absolutely. Well, because I know to organically let something breathe in a show. And the second I opened my mouth and kind of basically felt and heard and saw you lunge at the chomp at the bit to jump in, I know that was planned because I stepped away during the break. So all good. I appreciate it. And I like the fact that you went for it and committed to the bit. But anyway, guys, we're back here at the Collector's Desk. And it's been a great show so far. Obviously, no Steve today, but that's okay because the fun continues nonetheless. And I'm happy and I'm excited for the segment that we have planned out here because for the first time ever, we're tapping into the sports side of things. But it's not going to be your generic like sports talk. Trust me, I waste enough time, or at least waste enough people's time doing that regularly. But we're going to tap into basically something that really ties into a bigger picture here, which is accessibility in the streaming era. And the reason why I'm kind of approaching it through the lens of sports is because sports kind of is at a precipice right now in a way they thought they weren't going to experience before. Other forms of media have seen it. The movie theaters, the TV shows, stuff like that, a part of general entertainment has seen it. News media in many ways has already seen it, and the way journalism is changing, adapting to the digital age. But now here, when you're looking at the sports world, I want to kind of approach it with some nuance because I love the fact that you're with me for this, Brendan, as a diehard baseball fan. Not only as a diehard baseball fan, you're a fan of the San Francisco Giants. And the San Francisco Giants are a prime example of someone or of an organization who is out there on many platforms right now as opposed to one. And for the longest time, even if they were just on one platform as a baseball fan, that becomes an issue as well, because you don't know if that's automatically going to be available for you and your TV provider. And before I kind of give the mic to you here, I just want to say, this is what's so interesting about where we are, because we are at a point in the sports world or the sports timeline of television and just media, where the regional sports network is dying. Your team, the San Francisco Giants, are being carried by NBC Sports Bay Area, and that's still because of that very reason, they still have a pulse. But if you look at all the ones that have collapsed, the Bally's, the FanDuel, Steve's Padres had to find their own home. My Yankees have had the benefit, much like the Dodgers, of essentially having their own station for a number of decades now. So they get to basically circumvent that issue. But I have to ask you, as someone who now is kind of, again, at that precipice of traditionally being able to watch your team in the Bay Area or the Northern California market, and now you find yourself at a crossroads thinking, how much do I have to fork up here to follow my team just to watch a game? We know about the conversations being there in attendance. Now I have to give an arm and a leg to watch the game. It's getting bad.
Well, so one of the things about California and Northern California specifically is we are spoiled for sports. You take a look at the Bay Area. They had the 49ers when they were doing so well. They had the Warriors who were doing so well. They had the Kings up there. They had the Giants. They had the Athletics. You know, there was the Battle of the Bay. We have 5 professional baseball teams in California. There's no other state that has more than 2. So we are spoiled for sports. But what that creates for me is a problem, because now I live in Southern California, and you've got these territorial rights. And the territorial rights for the American League in Southern California is the Angels. And for the National League is the Dodgers. And so anytime that the Giants play the Dodgers or the Angels, even though I pay now the normal price for MLB extra innings or whatever they're calling it, MLB.TV is $140 for a season. Okay, fair enough. I'm a veteran, so I get it for just under $100 at $97.50 for the season. I pay an extra $100 to watch the Giants play. But they play the Dodgers a lot because they're in the same division, and they play the Angels a lot because it's a California rivalry thing. And so most of the time when they're playing within their own division, 1 out of 5 games I can't watch because they're playing the Dodgers and it's blacked out on MLB.TV, and I don't have cable. Yep. And then when they're playing the Angels, I can't watch it. And then when they're playing San Diego, half the time it's on YouTube or it's on Fubo or it's on ESPN or some other service. And those all cost money. And so it's one of those things where it is more accessible than ever before to watch your team if you pay for every service that they appear on.
Bingo. And that's why I say accessibility, because I want to emphasize in this very segment, I'll get to you as well, Eric, but even on the non-sports stuff, about how there is an element of pro and con here, because we're tapping into the con. Conversely, you could say the pro now is that for a monumental, let's say, UFC event on the White House lawn, you don't have to cough up $85 up to watch, as long as you're a subscriber to Paramount Plus, right? If you're someone who consumes the bevy of Taylor Sheridan shows out there, you're going to have that anyway. So it's just another Saturday night for you where you're tuning in. Everyone just about has Netflix, right? Even if they complain about it. And Netflix has really carved their own niche, now starting to do the same in the sporting world. They just had the most watched. Say what you want about the merit behind Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. That's fine. But because it's Netflix and it's so accessible and people don't have to pay $70, $80 for a fight that we all knew would end in 10 seconds, now because of that, it is the most watched MMA event in the history of the sport, and it was a circus fight. Right. I'm not saying that's not to bash the 2 women. I've covered MMA for a long time. Women's MMA does not exist without them. I actually enjoy the fact that they got to have that type of full circle moment for themselves individually as people, because I think they really needed it. But in terms of what the merit of the actual fight and the landscape of combat sports, it was a joke compared to the other things that are going on, but it's now the most watched event. And now you're going to have a card on the lawn of the White House. So in that regard, you think, oh, it's so much better because now I can stream, and I already am paying for these things anyway to watch this random movie or this Yellowstone spinoff or whatever it may be. But now because of that, you have to cough up more, as Brendan said, Eric, for the ones that you don't have. So it's almost like Russian roulette. Or even just a roll of dice. You have to hope that whatever you're watching or a fan of, even if it's in the nerd sphere, is on something you're willing to pay for.
And there actually is a nice little nerd corollary that recently was announced. that modern new series Doctor Who, so this is 2005 to 2022, is going to AMC Plus. Right?
Oh, another app.
You want to watch all of Doctor Who, you're doing BritBox, although classic Doctor Who is also on YouTube. But let's just, for argument's sake, you're subscribing to BritBox for classic Doctor Who, you're subscribing to AMC Plus for new Doctor Who, and then you're subscribing to Disney Plus for the Disney era Doctor Who. That's 3 services. That's at least $11.99, right, per service. Although BritBox might actually be cheaper than that. I forget. But it's ridiculous. Your other option, at least with Doctor Who, is just buy the damn DVDs.
Yeah.
There is an option, but sports doesn't give you that option. Or does it? Is there an opportunity to buy classic?
It depends. It depends on what you're talking about, because if it's at a certain point in the sports television timeline, absolutely. And this is I have one more point on the sports front before we go to break. I'll kind of bring it full circle, which is kind of the moral of the story here. But I want to kind of tap into the more general approach here and kind of paint it with a broader stroke, because now the question becomes, Erik, and again, it's a part of this ongoing conversation, is physical media and almost this longing for it, because it's a relic of the past at this point, is it going to be missed in ways that we never anticipated? Because now you may have to, over the course of history, or of a release history, if you will, or streaming rights, you may have to follow your favorite movie of all time to various apps instead of just owning the damn thing.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
I love it. And it says a lot, whether it be and Brendan says in the chat, Survivor, a show that's been on for 50 seasons now. If you get that core demographic, that target fan base that's been there from the beginning, yes, they're going to go after. That's why the MCU fans, even if you're not a big Disney guy, or if you're a Star Wars fan and not a big Disney guy, you'll get Disney Plus. That's fine, because that's more IP related. But what's tough about sports, especially, Brennan, in a sport like baseball, when you have such a long schedule and you also have to mix in the national games, now you're going to be chasing them, because we have, Netflix trying to get every sport they can. It's not just fights, like I mentioned. They're having opening day coverage between my Yankees and your Giants. Now, if you're a Yankee or a Giant fan and you're sitting there in late March, and you don't have a Netflix account, you're thinking last minute, well, do I go to a friend's house who has one? Because Netflix cracked down on using accounts, right? So that's a whole hoop you have to jump through. Or am I just going to use an illegal streaming site to try to watch it? Or am I just going to bend the knee and cough up the money?
VPN, sir.
Right.
So the thing with WWE right now is that so Monday Night Raw is on one service, SmackDown is on another service, ESPN has got the pay-per-views, and then they do half of it on the live ESPN, and the other half goes on the paid ESPN. So the first hour of the show you have to be on cable, and then you have to go to the service or whatever, and it's so ridiculous. But if you're located in the UK, every single show and every pay-per-view is on Netflix. Not saying to skirt the system by getting a VPN, but it would be really easy, hypothetically, to skirt the system using a VPN.
Well,
this episode of the Collector's Desk is not sponsored by any particular VPN service.
No, we're kosher, we're clean. But Brendan, really quick before I kind of bring us full circle here, you rallied off some actually very interesting numbers here. Normally, I don't get too much in the numbers soup for something like this, but here you have to, because for the longest time, Nielsen ratings mattered, right? That's what they looked at. That's what moved the needle. That's going out the window now because of streaming services. You have some of the demographics there. Like the one that kind of pops out to me is on average now how they're gauging each household instead of what exactly they're watching station by station on a live TV provider. It's now looking at how much do you comprehensively own and are trying to watch on a weekly or nightly basis on the internet.
All right. I know myself a dozen streaming services. I know that, but it's still cheaper than cable. So average cable service by satellite or by cable TV, your provider, your high speed, whatever, with on-demand and TiVo type services or whatever, is $217 per month. Each streaming app costs about $10. There are some that are 15, there are some that are 6, but it averages at 15. And the typical US household has just under 4 services. So the typical US household is spending about $40 to $50 on services. I'm spending about $120, which is still half of what cable costs.
Right. And that's kind of what leads me to where we'll kind of, again, Coleman, we'll wrap it up here in the sense that it amazes me that, as Brendan said, it's more accessible than ever if you can actually afford it, or more so if you're just willing to, even if it is affordable and you're trying to go off of principle. And the reason why now it's becoming more alarming, fellas, is because for the longest time, this is not necessarily anything new with baseball. There are now more ways to watch baseball, but here's the difference. And really quick, it's a nuanced difference, but I'm going to kind of just clarify for anyone who's not aware. Baseball, hockey, and basketball, for the longest time, have operated under the regional sports network system. Football has national broadcast rights that are distributed regionally, depending on where you are in the country. So if you're in a certain market, you're going to get a certain feed for that game on that afternoon on Fox or CBS, whatever it may be. But the rights are still exclusively to the NFL on CBS, to the NFL on Fox. And then the primetime games you get, and NBC Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, those are considered the quote-unquote true national broadcast with a primetime audience. Every market, every household, as long as you have access to the most basic of cable or essentially any kind of traditional network TV, even if it's in a digital sense, you're going to have access to that. But they're all national broadcasts. Baseball, not all of them are national broadcasts. So if you're a casual fan following your team throughout the season, that may not be a big deal. But if you're a Brendan Allen or a Brett Lawson or a Steve Johnston following respectively the Padres, the Yankees, or the Giants, now you have to decide and have the discretion to basically proceed with where you want to go and how much you want to cough up. Because if you do like the broadcast team that you get for the Giants, who are an absolutely iconic duo,
Crook and Kai,
absolutely iconic, right? So if you want to follow along the narratives of the season properly, you kind of have to be able to watch NBC Sports Bay Area. But if you actually want to see the games that they play not on that platform, now you're subscribing to Apple TV Plus. You're subscribing to Netflix, making sure you can watch NBC, ESPN, Fox Sports, TBS. And that's how it is with every sport that's not football. And Brent, I know you had one point because you lifted your hand there, and I'll throw it to you here. But the reason why this has gone unsaid for the longest time is because football was unaltered, because everyone had access to NBC, CBS, and Fox. Now, since all these streaming platforms are trying to get their hand in the pot, and now people are realizing, okay, a game's going to be on Netflix, and then a game's going to be on Peacock exclusively, not NBC, but just Peacock. And now this game's going to be on Amazon Prime. Now I know what it's like as a baseball fan to have to really follow my team, and my wallet has to follow them as well, as opposed to the traditional, broadcast or linear television sense where that was never an issue. And now football fans realize, oh crap, we are now compromised as well.
One thing I was going to say real quick, because I know we have to go to the break, is that the regional thing about baseball, it doesn't exist anymore. So when you sit there and you look at Dodgers games, even if I had cable, half the time, give me 1 second, please. Sorry.
No, absolutely. No, and I kind of pick up what Brendan's saying because he's spot on. Even if he had cable, half the time the games are blacked out because baseball, given the fact you have so many games throughout the regular season, sometimes you just have the most random game at Chavez Ravine on a random weekday afternoon that doesn't have a lot of people, even though the Dodgers have great attendance, and they're going to black that game out if you're not directly in that area, the actual direct proximity to the team. So now if you're a Giants fan, even if you're watching in California somewhere nearby, if you're not close enough and that game doesn't have enough people in it to be broadcast out there, now you're screwed, even if you have coughed up the money. Right. And we take jabs at the Dodgers all the time, just again, Padres, Giants, Yankee fans here. But the Dodgers are actually notorious for this. It's been a thing for a long time. And it's not because it's the Dodgers, it's because it's the LA market. And it's just one of those things where you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place, Brett.
Sorry, my kid's school called like 6 times, so I had to pick that up because I had to tell them I was recording.
No worries. I mean, but this is actually what I know about, because I remember reading, I guess they had made a contract with the Warner Cable service in LA. So you literally had bars that were going to move their locations across the street.
Right.
Because that was like the map. Like if they moved across the street, they would have access to Warner Cable and therefore could make their money doing Dodger games. Where if
Right.
they just stayed in their old location, they couldn't because they were outside of Warner's reach, which is nuts. That is nuts.
The point I was going to bring up, though, is like, so even though I'm in Southern California, if I had local cable, I couldn't watch the Giants play the Dodgers because they don't sell out. And so when they don't sell out, they don't show it on TV because they want people to come down to buy a ticket. And it's like, bro, when you're selling a nationwide service to watch every game, you can't black out games because of the local attendance. It just doesn't work for the product. So that whole local television thing, I get it. KMBR wants to keep the radio rights, and whatever channel is showing them wants to keep the television rights, and that's fine. But you can't black out games for the people who are paying for the service.
Amen.
If I pay an annual fee to watch the games, I should be able to watch every single game. That's it.
And that's a conundrum. And you're lucky, and I'm lucky because we're big. We have teams in the big markets. If you're a mid-market team, a small market team, you're not going to get a lot of national games. So then you really have to rely on taking every approach and jumping through every hoop that you possibly can to follow your team. And it sucks because we get with the concessions and the prices for tickets and admission and all that. We get that viewing sports in the flesh live is going to be harder than ever these days. We've kind of made peace with that. But don't make the television side hard too, because for the longest time, that's been the easiest. And now that's no longer the case.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and go to break. And when we get back, all four of us will be here, and we'll go ahead and give our weekly wrap up, and we'll talk about what's coming up this weekend. PokeCon. Half of us are going to be there. 3/5 of us, 60% would be there if Steve were here, but he's not. But so we'll go ahead and go to break. And when we get back, it's just going to be the four of us here
wrapping
talking
up
about the weekend and things and whatever. Let's go.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Welcome back. So I've had a busy morning on my phone here because, it's been busy. But anyway, we're back. And this is the fourth and final segment. Lots of big stuff today. I sat through and listened to your guys' thing about Leto and his weird sex, like cult island. And there was a movie. There was a movie, right? That's coming out. But they don't mention him in any of the advertising for the movie because they know that he's so toxic or whatever. So they CGI'd his face and they used his acting skills, which I guess are pretty good. But they won't show his face or mention his name because they know that people will not see the film. Because I know that Mr. Erik Amaya is not going to pay money to go see the film, and he wasn't invited to a premiere, so he just won't see it, which is a choice. But I feel like a lot of people are making that choice because of how toxic this man is.
Oh yes, I am hoping. It's not that I want to see Masters of the Universe fail. I want to see him fail. Right. So I'm hoping that after this movie bombs, they will finally understand that he's box office poison, and no amount of blackmail material that he has will be enough to put him in another damn movie.
And that's why, you felt so bad because it was Michael Keaton in a freaking Batman suit again. But you're all like, so it wasn't even me because I was going to go see that movie anyway, even if the lead character or the lead actor wasn't an absolute, scumbucket. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the fact that if he weren't, that movie would have really drawn well just off the Keaton factor alone, even if it wasn't that great. And I probably would have gone to see it, or at least been more inclined to see it. But ultimately, the no was a lot easier. Because like I said, I was on the fence either way. But the no became really easy. I'm all like, because it's not even so much that, Ezra Miller's going to benefit off of my money. It's more so, if you're going to be a scumbag, you got to be a really good movie for me to go see. You know what I'm saying?
That's kind of me with.
If we found out about Robert Downey Jr. before Endgame, something really bad, I probably still would have seen Endgame unless it was super heinous. You know what I'm saying? Ezra Miller was doing bad shit, but the movie also didn't look good enough to forget it.
And that's kind of me with Tom Cruise.
Is awful. I'm going to do the fun. It was in fact a flash fire.
Right.
It is bad. It is such a bad movie.
I generally won't go see anything that's got Tom Cruise in it because I don't get it.
Right.
He's not a big dude, so I don't understand him as an action guy.
Right.
He's batshit crazy, and he's done some really, really awful stuff. And it's just like, I don't understand why he's still in Hollywood.
Yeah. And the movies, and the reason why, Brett, is the only reason why is because they draw so much. And then
Paul
it goes back to the.
Paul, why is he
has an answer?
Why is he still in town?
I mean, I think belonging to a certain church might help.
You're going to get canceled.
See,
So-
I gave the PR answer, and it's all good. I'm protecting our show with the PR answer. The gotcha police will not get us. I have a barrier, a force field, the shield generators.
Do you think the
are up.
Scientologists watch this show though? For real?
No one said Scientology. Whoa.
I know, right? Leah
What's it?
Remini.
Leah Remini, right,
Leah
right.
Remini,
In good
protect
religion.
us.
Now,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk toxic, though, maybe no one's heard of a brilliant thespian by the name of Vincent Gallo.
Who's that?
Vincent Gallo, Buffalo 66, a musician, but at one point, and I'll see if I can find the link, I might still have it, on his website, he was offering his services to impregnate women, but he had such an amazing list of do's and don'ts. I mean, if I can find it, I shall send it to you guys. But yeah, look up Vincent Gallo. I think he out. Not that one is worse than toxic is toxic, but Jared Leto might be a saint compared to Vincent Gallo.
Well, that's what's interesting too, because was there ever an instance where his filmography, given his, regardless of how talented you may think he's as an actor, Erik and Brendan, like, was there a point in time? Was it more so because of recent headlines? Can you watch? Because some people are weird like this. Can you watch certain movies before he was doing scumbag things? Because like this one, like American Psycho's okay, but this movie isn't. You know what I mean?
No. As far as Leto goes, I can watch Requiem.
Okay.
Because his character is a piece of garbage, and I just imagine that that's the most like his actual person as possible. As he takes advantage of his girlfriend, he takes advantage of his mom, he takes advantage of every single person in his life and treats them like garbage until the point where his life is completely unrecognizable. That right there, I don't mind watching that because I see him go and basically destroy his life with his shittiness. And so that's the one movie of his that I can actually watch because he gets his just dessert.
I can watch My So-Called Life because he hadn't done any of that crap yet.
That's what I was asking.
Somebody told me the other day
the band and the cult behavior, like the fact that he has a retreat every year.
Yes,
and women kind of audition so they can sleep in his tent. Like also, okay, I'm just gonna say it. Any white man who consciously looks like Jesus all the time, you got a problem.
It's gonna rub you
What's
the
the guy
wrong
who
way.
played Jesus in The Passion?
Caviezel.
I saw one interview with him that was hilarious, and they were like, "So how do you prepare for this role to be Jesus?" And he'd be like, "Well, on these evenings when I didn't have anything to do, and the night was coming on and stuff, I would just go out in my backyard and walk across the pool."
Yeah. Look at Eric's face. Well, the funny thing is, given some of the things that actor actually believes, the stars may align. But no, and I get it. I really do. And the funny thing is not even the funny thing. It's more like it's like a particular thing. Kind of like what I said in the opening, how certain things, or it was when we were doing your segment, how I've kind of been desensitized to certain things through sports and through covering combat sports and all that. I'm also a professional wrestling fan, and Brendan knows like that. And Brendan knows there's not a single industry where your heroes die quicker in reality than professional wrestling, especially when your favorite wrestler of all time, at least throughout your childhood up to that point of when the occurrence happened, your favorite wrestler of all time is probably responsible for the single most heinous, worst thing that's ever happened in the industry. One day in 2007, I'll just leave it at that. Right. When you kind of view these guys as not just like icons and idols, but like true actual heroes, then it gets really, really, really hard. When it's kind of just a performer, musician, actor, filmmaker, or artist of any type, filmmaker, I can kind of take a step back and create distance easier because it doesn't resonate the same way.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
I know you're talking about one guy, but let me talk about another guy. Are you saying your prayers and eating your vitamins?
Oh, well, that's the best thing. As far as the day by day example, as far as having a bevy of things, like a whole list of things to bring up, right? Oh my God, there's podcasts out there where the whole episode are the hosts rattling off lies told by the person you're referring to, the immortal Hulk Hogan, who in many ways is immortal in the literal sense. As you talk about him right now.
Speaking of Hulk Hogan, have you ever seen the workout video?
I'm gonna do it.
The workout video that Ultimate Warrior did when he was trying to reach at-risk youth, and so he brought them out to this warehouse and he's swearing at them and yelling at them and talking about like all the girls he's had sex with and all the drugs he's done and stuff, and like screaming these insults at these kids. And I'm like, what am I watching? But it's so like you have to watch because everything he says is wilder than the last thing he said. You can't believe he's going to push it farther.
Guy jumping off the building, you can't take your eyes off, but you should be watching.
Yeah.
It sounds
postscript to that, because one time Brendan was showing me that video before we were doing an interview.
Right.
And so we start the interview, we're recording live, and about 5 minutes in, he's like, "Oh, hang on a second, the Ultimate Warrior's screaming in my head." And I like when I did the edit, I had to superimpose like a little photo of him and some Ultimate Warrior shouting, because it was just like, well, this is too funny to cut. It's too funny to cut.
Oh, absolutely. And the sound bites alone, I mean, immortal, eternal.
Hulk Hogan's speech sounds more like a motivational speech to me than anything. Bragging about the drugs, the chicks.
No, that's the Ultimate Warrior. That was Jim Hellway.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Hulkster's
the only thing the Hulkster ever bragged about was eating too much pork. So,
and the fact that he got major league pitching deals and was offered to be.
He was supposed to be in Metallica.
Yeah, every heavy metal band of the '80s got offered to be the bassist before he pulled out. He gave Dana White the idea for the UFC in the mid-90s.
Oh, he was supposed to have the George Foreman grill too, but he didn't pick up the phone that day.
Right, and Dana White, who bought the UFC in the early 2000s after it had already been around for 10 years, but he gave Dana White the idea in 1995. Okay, but you know what the funny thing is? There are certain ways you could separate art from artists, and for me, Hulk Hogan's always been one, because Hulk Hogan, it was the ego, it was what he did to suppress people, it was the racism in the back end, and it was rough. But at the same time, like so many celebrities who we like worship and clamor over now did and said horrible things. I'm not excusing it, but the consciousness around it kind of changes. But then there are the people who are just the absolute scumbags, and it's all like good riddance no matter what. Right. So it's really just relative to the situation. Because Brendan, for example, like your favorite baseball players, Buster Posey, you got a good one. A lot of good ones in baseball. You could have lucked out by getting,
That's one of my two favorite baseball players. The other one is Barry Bonds. And look at his
there you go
legacy.
So you separate the player from the controversy.
No, I think Barry Bonds is delightful still. And I think that I would have snapped a lot quicker than he did. He got poor treatment or whatever, but he did cheat at baseball. He did use performance enhancing drugs, and nobody's denying that.
Right. Exactly. And when it's out there, it's out there. And the best thing you could do is really just kind of own it. And if you're a fan, it's easy to own it when it's something that it's more, altering the rules or a competitive advantage, as opposed to something that is just truly just irredeemable or, in no way
being a bad human.
Exactly. Being a total, stain, just a total scumbag that we see time and time again in many ways, shapes and forms. But at the same time, the reaction to everything these days is always so polarized anyway. It's important to kind of put it in perspective over what actually is that bad.
Paul Vato, who is your favorite disgraced celebrity?
And is it Disco Viking?
Ooh.
It was Bill Cosby.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, Louis C.K., but I guess it's a lot of comedians.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Comedians are one where you have
Mitch
to say,
Fatel.
Okay, right. Like comedians are one
that was a bad one.
When you think about comedians in a way, if you don't have controversy, it means you kind of sucked, right? Like to a degree.
But
unless you
with
were
comedy though.
Unless you work like strictly clean, I guess.
There are pushing boundaries on stage,
right?
And then there are things that you do in actual real life. When you take away somebody else's human rights in real life, that's not a performance.
Yeah. Yep. Amen. And that's why it's different. Like they're like Hulk Hogan did a lot of bad things as far as the business side of pro wrestling, and said a lot of things in the media that are never going to look good or age well or any of all that. But Hulk Hogan, compared to other professional wrestlers, is still a saint. So it's all about relativity there.
Well, Brock Lesnar is back in the WWE. And if you haven't read up on what he did, come on, guys. All right, we are running up against the clock here, though. So I want to thank everybody for their time today. Thank you for tuning in. Every Monday at 11 Eastern, so was that 8 o'clock Pacific, we have a new episode that hits the YouTube channel. Go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and you can get in on this goodness every week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Paul, you've got to do your ads. That's right. Yeah. So give him the 30 seconds or whatever.
I get to do
joking. Always.
This is amazing. Well, first of all, guys, I am wearing the Fame Exchange, the fameexchange.com. It's like a stock market for people, for celebrities, up and coming sports people. So, get yourself over to the fameexchange.com and sign up for that.
Okay.
That would be amazing. Just look for me at paulvato.com, and from there we can connect. You can get a copy of my cup. I hear paper crinkling. I was promised I'd be able to.
All right. The money's all here. I told him last week it won't happen again. Just take it.
What the hell's going on? I'm supposed to have 30 seconds to talk about all my amazing projects that the fans are demanding.
Just take
I
the
talk
money.
to them about Vato coin, Kama Susia, Vato cigars, Paul Vato himself as a stand-up comedian. I guess that's what Brendan at the top of the show said, I guess. So my lost invitation, never received that. Still just gonna, I guess, hang out in beautiful Chicago, back in Chicago again. Just selling my wares, the Parse rum, if you will. So there's a lot of great things going on in the world of Paul Vato. Get yourself over to paulvato.com. And right there, then you can find out everything that I am doing. Vato events. All exciting things